Everybody, welcome back to the channel, and if you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we cover the New York Rangers every single day. And today we have something massive to dig into. I am talking about a report that dropped and sent the entire Rangers fan base into an absolute frenzy overnight. And if you have not heard about this yet, buckle up because we are going deep on this one. Chris Drury is not done. The New York Rangers general manager has reportedly been working the phones again, and there are legitimate blockbuster-level conversations happening right now that could completely reshape what this team looks like heading into next season. We are going to break all of it down, connect the dots, talk about who the targets might be, what it would cost, and what it means for the future of this franchise. Let's get into it. So first, let me set the stage for people who maybe need a little bit of context on where the Rangers are right now as an organization. This is a team that has been through a significant transitional period. They went through a rebuild, they developed their core, they started winning again, they made deep playoff runs, and now they are at that critical inflection point where the window is open, the roster is talented, but the front office clearly believes that talented is not enough. Good enough to compete is not the same as good enough to win a Stanley Cup, and Chris Drury has shown us over and over again that he understands that distinction better than almost any general manager in the league right now. The man does not sit still. He does not wait for things to come to him. He is aggressive, he is calculated, and when he sees an opportunity to make this team better, he moves on it. And right now, based on everything we are hearing, he is moving. The buzz that has been building over the last several days is centered around the idea that the Rangers are not satisfied with their current roster construction. Now, on the surface, that might seem strange because this is a team with elite goaltending in Igor Shesterkin, one of the best young defensive cores in the entire NHL, and a forward group that has legitimate top-end talent. But when you really look at it critically, when you look at some of the playoff performances and where the breakdowns happened, you start to understand what Drury is seeing. There are areas on this roster that need upgrading, and the window to win is right now while Igor is in his prime, while the young core is hitting their peak years, and while the salary cap situation still gives the team some flexibility to maneuver. A year from now, that equation could look very different. So the time to act is this offseason, and Drury apparently agrees. Now let's talk about what we are actually hearing because this is where it gets really interesting. Multiple sources connected to NHL circles have indicated that the Rangers have been in discussions around acquiring another impact piece up front. We are talking about a player who can play in a top-six role, who has playoff experience, who is physical enough to be a factor when the game gets tight and the intensity goes through the roof in the postseason. The Rangers have skill. They have speed. What they have been searching for is that combination of compete level and offensive production that can flip a series. Think about the kinds of forwards that become absolutely invaluable when you get to the second round, the third round, the conference finals. Those power forwards, those guys who can score but also make life miserable for opposing defenses, those are the players Drury is hunting. There has been significant speculation around a handful of names, and I want to walk through a couple of them because the connections actually make a lot of sense when you think about it. One name that keeps coming up in conversations is a player from a team that appears to be heading toward a reset of their own. We have seen this before with Drury. He targets players on teams that are pivoting away from a win-now mode, teams where a player's value to that franchise no longer matches what the open market would suggest that player is worth. That is where Drury finds his leverage. That is where he finds deals that other GMs would not think to make. He is not waiting for the obvious trades. He is creating opportunities by identifying mismatches between a player's value on their current team versus what they could bring to New York. The cap element here is also really important to understand. The Rangers have spent the last couple of years managing their cap very carefully, and there is a reason for that. Drury has been building toward this. He did not just accidentally have cap space available. He structured contracts, he made decisions about what to prioritize and what to let walk precisely because he knew there would come a moment where he needed the financial flexibility to go get somebody significant. We are potentially at that moment right now. The dollars are there. The asset base is still reasonably strong despite some of the moves they have already made. And the willingness from ownership to be competitive is absolutely not in question. The Rangers are a market that wants to win, and that organizational pressure from the top filters down directly to Drury and how aggressively he operates. Let me also talk for a second about the draft asset component of any potential deal because this is where things get complicated and where Rangers fans might have some understandable anxiety. To get a real impact player, a guy who is going to come in and make an immediate difference, you are almost certainly going to have to give up something meaningful in return. That could be a draft pick, could be a prospect, could be a combination of both. And the question Rangers fans always ask is, what is too much? Where is the line between improving the team now and mortgaging the future? It is a genuinely difficult question, and Drury has navigated it with real skill over his tenure. He has made big moves without completely gutting the pipeline. But every move chips away a little bit, and there comes a point where you have to ask whether the prospect pool can sustain another significant trade. Based on what we know about the organization's depth, there is still room to maneuver, but Drury is absolutely working with constraints here, and he knows it. What makes this reporting even more compelling is the timing. We are in that stretch of the offseason where GMs are talking to each other constantly, where free agency has already reshaped some rosters, where teams are starting to have clarity on what they have and what they need. This is when the secondary wave of trades tends to happen. The first wave is the big splash moves everyone sees coming. But the second wave, the trades that happen in August, the deals that get announced and leave people saying, where did that come from? Those are the Drury specialty. He does not tip his hand. He works quietly, he builds consensus internally, and then he pulls the trigger when the moment is right. The fact that noise is leaking out right now suggests that something is either close or that the Rangers are in enough conversations that sources are starting to piece together the picture. I also want to address something that I think is worth considering, which is the coaching dimension of all of this. A new voice behind the bench means a new system, new expectations, potentially a new identity for this team. Any player coming to New York has to fit what the coaching staff is trying to build. That is not a small thing. Drury is not just shopping for skill in a vacuum. He is shopping for skill that fits the structure, the system, the culture that is being implemented, and that narrows the target list in some ways while clarifying it in others. You can actually start to profile the kind of player Drury is looking for once you understand the system requirements. High compete, reliable defensively, able to contribute in transition, useful on special teams. That profile is specific enough that the market of available players who fit it perfectly is not actually that large, which tells you that Drury is probably zeroed in on a short list of real targets. Now let me get into some of the market dynamics here, because I think they matter for understanding how realistic a blockbuster trade actually is at this stage of the offseason. There are still teams out there that have not fully resolved their roster situations. There are still players on contracts that create complications for cap-strapped franchises. And there are still situations where a team might be quietly shopping someone without it becoming a massive public story. The Rangers have the resources and the reputation to be involved in those conversations. Other GMs know that when Drury calls, he is serious, he is prepared, and he has done his homework. That credibility matters. It means calls get returned. It means counteroffers get considered seriously. It means the Rangers are at the table for deals that other organizations never even get a chance to discuss. Something else I keep coming back to when thinking about this is what the Rangers' own internal assessment of last season must look like. When you have a team of that caliber and you fall short of where you expected to be, the honest conversations in that front office have to be really specific about why. And I think Drury's activity this offseason tells you a lot about what those conversations concluded. If he thought the team just needed to run it back and trust the process, he would be quiet right now. He would be letting things develop naturally. Instead, he is aggressive. Instead, there is reporting about blockbuster conversations. That tells you the internal evaluation was clear-eyed and honest about where the gaps are, and that Drury has been authorized to fix them decisively. Look, here is the bottom line, and I want to be really direct with you all because that is what this channel is about. We do not hype things for clicks and then walk it back. The reporting is real. The conversations are real. Whether they result in a specific trade in the next few weeks is something we genuinely do not know yet, because these things move fast and they move unpredictably. But the intent is clear. The direction is clear. Chris Drury is building towards something here, and he is not going to let this window close without doing everything in his power to push this franchise over the top. Rangers fans have waited a long time for a team that is genuinely built to compete for a championship, not just for one round but for a full playoff run. Drury believes this roster can get there. He believes the pieces are close. And he is not afraid to make the hard calls to close the gap. So stay locked in. This story is going to develop. There are going to be more names, more reports, more dots to connect over the coming days and weeks. We are going to be here every single step of the way, breaking it all down for you, giving you the analysis that goes beyond the headlines and actually